There is a personality type that will make you feel more seen, more loved, more understood than you have ever felt in your life. And then, systematically, take all of it away. Not out of cruelty, not out of anger, out of design. This is narcissism. Not the word we throw around casually. The clinical reality behind it, which is far darker, far more precise, and far more common than most people know. This is part 1 of our Dark Triad series. Part 2 covers psychopathy and Machiavellianism. But we start here because narcissism is the entry point for most people's encounter with genuinely dangerous personalities. Let's kill the myth first. Narcissism is not vanity. It is not confidence. It is not caring about how you look. Clinical narcissism is a fundamental disturbance in how a person relates to other human beings. At its core, the narcissist cannot fully experience you as real. You exist to them only insofar as you are useful. You provide admiration, you matter. You provide status, you matter. You reflect their greatness back to them, you matter. The moment you stop, you become invisible, or you become a threat. Psychologists call this a disturbance in object relations. The narcissist relates to people as objects, not as subjects with their own inner world. This one distinction explains everything about how they behave. There are 2 primary types, and most people only know one of them. The first is the grandiose narcissist, loud, dominant, magnetic, the center of every room they enter. They talk about their achievements constantly. They establish hierarchy immediately. Their need for admiration is visible, which, counterintuitively, makes them the easier type to identify. The second, and far more dangerous, is the covert narcissist. Quiet, sensitive-seeming, self-deprecating. They don't demand admiration loudly. They extract it, through victimhood, through guilt, through making you feel responsible for their emotional state. The covert narcissist doesn't look arrogant. They look wounded, and our instinct is to protect wounded people, not recognize them as predators. Where the grandiose narcissist says, "I am exceptional," the covert narcissist says, "No one understands how much I suffer." Different delivery, same core belief, "I am special, and the world owes me." Both types operate through the same cycle. Psychologists call it the narcissistic cycle. 3 phases, always in this order. Phase 1, idealization. You are placed on a pedestal. You are the exception, the one who truly sees them, the most remarkable person they have ever met. They study you, your needs, your wounds, your deepest wants, and they reflect back exactly what you most need to receive. This is not connection. This is mapping. They are learning the architecture of your vulnerability, so they know exactly where to apply pressure later. Phase 2, devaluation. Once the bond is secured, once leaving feels too painful to consider, the mask slips. Slowly at first, a comment that stings, a comparison to someone else, a moment of coldness that seems to come from nowhere. You try harder. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You reshape yourself around their approval. Because somewhere in you, you are still chasing the person from phase 1. That person is not coming back. They may never have existed. Phase 3, discard. When you no longer provide what they need, when you've been sufficiently depleted, they redirect to a new source of supply, to someone who still has what you no longer do. Fresh admiration, unguarded trust. And the cruelest part? They come back when the new supply runs low, when they need something only your history with them provides. This is called the narcissistic Hoover, named after the vacuum cleaner. They return to draw you back in, and because some part of you still associates them with phase 1, it often works. There is one more thing about narcissists that most people are never warned about: narcissistic rage. When a narcissist is criticized, even gently, even fairly, the response is disproportionate. Because criticism doesn't register as feedback. It registers as annihilation. Their entire sense of self is built on being exceptional. Anything that challenges that triggers a survival response, not a social one. The rage can be explosive, screaming, threats, destruction. Or it can be cold and surgical, the silent treatment, a calculated campaign to damage your reputation, years of quiet punishment. Either way, it is never about what you said, it is about what you threatened. But beyond the grandiose narcissist and the covert narcissist, there is a third form, one that most psychology content never reaches. It is called malignant narcissism, and it is not simply a more extreme version of what we've described. It is a categorically different level of danger. The term was first used by psychoanalyst Erich Fromm in 1964, later developed and defined by psychiatrist Otto Kernberg, one of the most influential figures in 20th century psychology. Their conclusion was stark. Malignant narcissism represents the most severe personality pathology a person can have short of complete psychosis. What makes it different? 4 components, present simultaneously. First, narcissism. The grandiosity, the entitlement, the inability to experience others as real. Second, antisocial personality, a fundamental disregard for rules, laws, and social norms. Not bending them, a genuine belief that they simply do not apply. Third, paranoia, a persistent conviction that others are conspiring against them, that loyalty must be proven constantly, that any perceived slight is a deliberate attack. And fourth, this is what separates malignant narcissism from everything else: sadism. The malignant narcissist does not simply use people. They do not simply discard people. They enjoy the suffering. Where a standard narcissist causes harm as a byproduct of getting what they want, the malignant narcissist causes harm because the harm itself is satisfying. The humiliation of someone who challenged them, the destruction of someone who tried to leave, the systematic dismantling of a life. This is not collateral damage. This is the point. Kernberg identified this configuration as the personality structure most likely found in individuals responsible for atrocities, not from ideology alone, but from a genuine pleasure in domination and in the suffering of others. Retrospective psychological analyses of history's most destructive figures have identified this profile consistently. Grandiosity, paranoia, complete moral exemption, pleasure in destruction. And yet, malignant narcissists exist outside of history books. They exist in families, in relationships, in organizations. The scale is smaller, the mechanism is identical. How do you recognize them? Beyond the standard signs, watch for the enjoyment, the slight energy shift when someone is humiliated, the satisfaction that seems to rise when conflict escalates, the disproportionate pleasure in another person's failure, especially someone who once challenged them. Watch for the paranoia, the sense that everyone is against them, that loyalty is never quite enough, that enemies must be found and punished. And watch for the absence of repair. After destruction, there is no remorse, no genuine attempt to rebuild what was broken. Because for the malignant narcissist, what was broken was the point. This is narcissism, not the word, the reality. In part 2, we go into psychopathy and Machiavellianism, the personalities that don't need your admiration, the ones that don't rage, the ones that simply calculate. That video is next.